there's a lot of chores that were not pleasurable, and anything that you have to do so much of, like you might think of sort of sitting sewing being something quite quiet that you could just do in a fairly relaxed fashion, but if you're doing it for very long periods of time, that plain stitch just going on and on and on, hemming shirts, it's exhausting physically, even in those tiny, the fine motor skills that you have to use. But I think the worst thing has to be notoriously wash day, when you'd have to start at 4:30 in the morning, an hour earlier than you normally would to start your day's work. But in order to do that, you have to begin by fetching water. So that's why you get up early, you fetch the water. But the previous day, you have to have collected the fuel to heat the water, otherwise you can't do your washing, and you have to have separated out all the laundry into different types and colours. Some clothes have to be unpicked before you can wash them, because the various fabrics need to be washed at in different ways, and colours will bleed if you don't separate things out in that way. And then when everything's wet, it's so heavy, and you have to drag it from the tubs to the, to actually be boiled and scrubbed, and soaked in this stuff called lye, which is this really caustic homemade bleach, and very rough homemade soap. So actually, it's not just really hard physical labour, and then lugging the stuff down for lines and pegging it out. By the end of the working day, a woman working at that kind of work would often just be in agony from the state of her hands, which would be raw and chapped and bleeding. But it's not just that day. It's such a long, drawn-out process, because you have to start making your soap 6 weeks before you actually begin to do your washing, because it needs that kind of amount of time for the reaction to be complete. So it's not so caustic; it just strips your hands completely. So yeah, wash day, that would be the worst, I think, of the chores.